Hello again, welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week, again from the undisclosed locations in Cleveland, Ohio. How are you doing, Eric?
We're doing good, Paul. Undisclosed locations. We've told everybody over and over, we're doing this from our homes, and you're in your dining room. I've been in my son's bedroom. So, I don't know how much more specific we can get other than like pulling out the cameras and start roaming around the room showing all our furniture, but I really don't want to do that, so don't make me.
Maybe it's all a ruse. Maybe I'm at someone else's house. I don't know.
It doesn't look like one of those backgrounds. I know I've been on some conference calls for Zoom where they got they look like they're on Tatooine doing the Star Wars thing going on, and it's a little distracting, I must admit. So,
well, the Last Supper is good enough for me. So,
it works.
It's something.
So, hey, we had some really big news this week. I know I have not taken a vacation day since like early March, and I had one day to burn off, and I decided, lo and behold, on Wednesday of this week past, on the 24th, to take a day off, and lo and behold, that's when all the big news happens to break. So thank you to my friends at Bayer for not waiting 24 hours. So.
No, I think they were waiting for you to get out of town so that we could get all the news out. So you get it slipping under the door. Let's see if we can get around Eric this time.
Yeah, so based on what I was reading, I guess we finally, we've been hearing hints that it was coming, and now finally we have Bayer and 25 different law firms have got together and agreed that they are going to settle all the glyphosate lawsuits, or at least most of them, for $10.9 billion, I believe, Paul.
Yeah, and it sounds interesting. What interesting in some of the follow-ups is that it's all kind of revert back to EPA to talk about safety and to reevaluate the science. So maybe we might see if science actually wins the day on this whole thing.
That is a really good point. Yeah, I thought of all the things I read in the press release about the settlement, I'm like, the one thing that was interesting was the paragraph that basically said, okay, the parties involved, which in this case would be Bayer and anyone who was having a lawsuit against them, have decided that there's going to be this independent panel of scientists that are going to look at the question of glyphosate and whether or not it is cancer causing. And everybody has agreed, all the parties, that whatever that panel finds in this study, which I guess is going to take 3 or 4 years from what I was reading, that basically they'll abide by their findings. If they find that there is no evidence that the glyphosate causes a problem, that the lawyers and future litigators cannot use that against Bayer. And if the finding is negative towards glyphosate, Bayer will accept that finding. So I think that's an important distinction to be made here, and we'll have to be watching that over the next year or couple of years as this goes on.
Yep. No, it's certainly a brilliant approach, and I appreciate that. I mean, it's what the industry has been saying, forever, and sometimes been criticized for is leaning on the science a lot and less on the emotion. But the science is what we have. The science is what we have behind us as an industry, and we have to be able to rely on it. Now, the devil will be in the details as far as the panel selection and making sure that it's a balanced panel, that everyone's voice is heard. But at the end of the day, that science does win. And there are times historically when we've seen science kind of win and actually, prevail. And hopefully it will over emotion, and we'll see, an outcome that makes sense, whichever way it happens to go. But, that will be the most interesting thing to watch over as the years unfold as to how this process goes and whether science prevails.
Yeah, and I know I kind of got buried a little bit in the press information I was receiving regarding the settlement agreement between Bayer and the lawyers regarding glyphosate. But lo and behold, I guess also as a part of this, there's a Dicamba settlement as well for $400 million that basically takes that out of the court and puts it back into the labs and the arena of scientific opinion. So doubly good news for Bayer all around in terms of what happened on Wednesday of this past week.
Yep, absolutely. It's exceptional news, exceptionally good news for science, whichever way it goes.
Okay. Well, then, Paul, I have two other items to share. We'll play the old game of what do you want first, the good news or do you want the bad news?
Oh, heck. Give me the bad news first. Why not?
All right. The bad news is I ran across a survey that was released by our friends of the Association of Equipment Manufacturers regarding their member companies and how the coronavirus pandemic has impacted their businesses. And some interesting statistics out of that survey was that 33% of the companies they surveyed said they expect to have to lower their financial outlook for 2020 by up to 30% because of depressed demand for their equipment. And also, the other interesting tidbit was that 1 in 5 of the companies they surveyed said that they've had to lay off up to 10% of their workforces because of low demand, because of the COVID-19 pandemic and shelter at home in place orders that have been put in across the U.S. So,
wow, that's not good. Not wholly unexpected, but not good. So you're going to flip that on its head now, or something else?
well, there's something to flip on its head. Now, for the good news, the last couple of weeks when we've been doing the videos, I've been talking a little bit about the fact that despite the fact the U.S. and China are still saying negative things about one another, that the Chinese are actually been buying quite a bit of U.S. Agricultural products, cotton, and in particular soybean. And the one thing that was interesting today, I ran across an item that said that China has purchased so many soybeans recently that, of course, as you might imagine, the commodity price for soybeans has now been rising. And as of this morning, soybean was at $8.71 per bushel. And why that is significant is, according to the USDA figures, soybean farmers need soybeans to be at about $8.50 a bushel to make a profit here in 2020. So based on this number that I saw this morning, they'll be able to turn a profit of almost a quarter a bushel, so which is good news there.
Yeah, anything north of zero is good at this point. We'll take it.
Amen. So that's about all I have. You got anything to share with our viewers this week?
No, I really don't. I think as things have kind of gone apace, I've been doing a lot of work, background work for our PACE Executive Forum, and actually for the Precision Ag Vision Conference, which is coming in January of 2021. So we got October and January events that we're working on. And again, it's reinforcing the fact that digital technology from a standpoint of data exchange, data movement, this whole idea of remote access to data and being able to put that into growers' hands effectively continues to be something that people see growth in. How can we get that information to the producer in a digital format? And I've mentioned that, I think, a couple of times, but that theme just continues to be reinforced. And I think it's something to be taken advantage of as service providers, to make sure that we're getting the information to them and helping them make better decisions based on that. And something we can use to grow on too. So.
All right. Well, yeah. Hopefully, I know that I've seen more news about events that are not going to be taking place in the month of August. I think at this point, the first event I've seen on the calendar that still seems to be on is the Farm Progress Show there in September 1st through 3rd. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see as we move into the fall. I know I've been reading more about COVID-19 cases increasing in places. So it's a good thing none of us are holding meetings, I guess, in New Jersey, Connecticut, or New York, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. Although those places are getting better, if you're drawing audiences from Florida and Texas and some other places, California, it could be tough. I mean, it's states and state. It's almost state versus state now. Talking about limiting. New York and some of those states in Northeast are talking about quarantining folks coming from hotspot states. It's without a nationally coordinated response to all this, it's a little bit, it's pretty much the wild, wild west out there. And that's another thing I've been hearing from folks traveling as well, is it makes it extremely difficult. We're trying to manage around a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm sure by the time we do our video next week, everything will probably have turned on its head one more time when it comes to, I just, at this point, everything that happened in 2020, it's like things are happening at such a lightning pace. I'm feeling a little numb. I'm basically not, the glyphosate news was huge, and I thought that was all really good to see actually go down. But yeah, anything else I see in the news, up, down, or indifferent, I'm getting a little numb. I'm sure I speak for a lot of people when I say that.
Yep. Yeah, you just wait a few minutes and it changes.
Yep. And then my arm's falling asleep. So.
All right, well, I guess we'll bail you out of here, bail us out of here. And thanks for joining us for this edition of CropLife Retail Week, and we will see you next week. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below.
Your feedback is important to us. We'll try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode.
And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.